This is a good opportunity to remind everyone to please have phones on silent and devices on Do Not Disturb. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. And welcome to the viewing and listening audience to this, the fourth meeting of the Joint Select Committee on Social Services and Public Administration. This committee has oversight responsibility for education, health, gender, tourism, public administration, labor, culture, community development, and other social services. This is the committee's second public hearing with stakeholders pursuant to its inquiry into the effectiveness of sporting programs in diverting vulnerable youths from delinquency and criminal activity. Our first public hearing on this issue was held on December the 17th, 2025, with officials of the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs, the Ministry of Education, and the Sport Company of Trinidad and Tobago. Members of the public are invited to submit their comments on the Parliament's social media platforms, our YouTube channel, ParlView, ParlView, or via Facebook or X, formerly known as Twitter. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at TT Parl Committees for real-time updates and highlights from committee meetings. I am Senator Dr. Desiree Murray. I am the chairman of this committee, and I am pleased to have you here with us today. I want to especially thank all of you for appearing and for your submissions, which I know you spent a lot of time and energy and effort on, and you did so willingly, and it was very helpful in formulating the questions for the session today. I also want to thank the public for their submissions and feedback, which we have found very helpful in formulating our questions. May I ask the members of the committee to please introduce yourselves? Starting with Minister Dowlath.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Michael Dowlath, MP for San Fernando West, Minister of Education.
To my right.
Good morning. I'm Khadijah, Ameen, member of the committee, Vice Chairman.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for your time today. My name is Melanie Roberts-Radgman, member.
Good morning, Senator Nakhid. Looking forward to this engagement very much.
Thank you all. Could I now ask the representatives from the various national bodies to please introduce yourselves?
Good morning. Good morning, Devprasad Ramuta, General Secretary of the Boxing Association. Thank you for having us.
Good morning, Altaf Baksh. Good morning, Altaf Baksh, First Vice President of the Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board.
Good morning, Jameson Riggs, Third Vice President of Trinidad and Tobago Football Association.
Good morning, Sean Pouchet, President, Aquatic Sports Association of Trinidad and Tobago.
Good morning, Roslyn George, Vice President Marketing, the National Basketball Federation of Trinidad and Tobago.
Good morning all, Davidine Manek, Coach of the Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board.
Good morning all, thanks for having us. I'm Richard Piper, Program Manager from Trinidad and Tobago Football Association.
Good morning, Cephas Cooper, National Cricketer.
Good morning, Ms. Tiana Guy, boxer from Trinidad and Tobago's Association.
Good morning all, Tariq Singh, National Basketballer.
Is that everyone? Okay, thank you for those introductions. I'll now outline the 4 objectives of this inquiry. The first objective is to examine the design and administration of existing state-supported youth sporting programs, projects, and initiatives known as youth sporting activities in Trinidad and Tobago. The second objective is to examine participation rates of vulnerable youths in different state-supported youth sporting activities across Trinidad and Tobago, including factors influencing their engagement and retention. The third objective is to evaluate the effectiveness of existing state-supported youth sporting activities in positively influencing the behavior, attitudes, and social development of vulnerable youths. And our fourth objective is to understand the issues and challenges adversely affecting state-supported youth sporting activities. I'd just like to please brief everyone on the flow of proceedings today. Because there are 5 national governing bodies being represented today, and in the interest of time and fairness, we'd like to allot approximately 30 minutes to each national governing body to field questions from the members of the committee. That way, everyone will get to a fair chance and to hear the views and experiences of the other bodies. Now, with 5 present, that would be 2.5 hours if we are strictly to time, which would take our end time to after 1 p.m. So I do beg your indulgence, and please facilitate us in sticking to time and half an hour to each governing body. Thank you. So we now commence the questioning from the committee, and we will start with the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, followed by the Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board, and then the Trinidad and Tobago Boxing Association. Fourth will be the National Basketball Federation of Trinidad and Tobago, and last but certainly not least, the Aquatics Sports Association of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you. So, before we commence, I'd just like to remind you to please field questions or ask questions or concerns through the chair. To activate your microphones, there is an on and off button, which you will press, and the hearing will proceed as agreed. So we'll start with the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association. Senator Roberts-Radgman.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, through you to the association. In the association submission, they mentioned that they support talent identification and development initiatives. So then my question is, in terms of underserved or at-risk communities, how does the association go about identifying and recruiting talent in those communities in particular?
Good morning again. And through the chair, thank you for your question. The Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, we have been able, over our tenure, this is a new executive, to spread our wings across Trinidad and Tobago, so to speak. And many of the rural and at-risk communities have been able to benefit from our involvement and intervention. Our coaching programs across the country has really seen bore fruit over recent months. We have been able to introduce the TTFA High Performance Youth Program in communities as far as Mayaro, Moruga, and so on, Point Fortin, and this would have given us an opportunity to look at players and talent that may have not been given the opportunity before. Recently, we have been able to see quite a number of young persons accepted on national teams through our coaching programs, where they have also been given the opportunity to not only play the sport of football, but to also learn other social ills. We have the safeguarding program that we have been implementing not only through the football programs, but other sporting disciplines. And our safeguarding program in Trinidad and Tobago is coined one of the best in the world so far that our Gary St. Rose, he went to FIFA as part of a case study. And we realized that the safeguarding program would have given the normal person involved in football and in touch with the young people the opportunity to identify different negative behaviors that needs to be improved. And this, we believe, is a key tool that, handled the right way, will not only benefit football, but also different sporting disciplines.
If I may, Mr. Riggs, could you possibly identify some of the common behavioral issues that arise when you say these negative behaviors? Could you be more specific?
Yes. So punctuality, different attitudes, certain demeanors that questions one's upbringing based on how they would relate and associate with other peers. These things are usually identified on the field because the field is an area where young persons get an opportunity to express themselves. So coaches, staff, other key people will, recognize how a player or a young person behaves, and they are now able to address that situation, in different forms. So, that type of, sort of indeviant type behavior coming through, probably a certain type of environment that they may have, been brought up in and so on.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, through you, just one very quick follow-up for Mr. Riggs. You mentioned programs such as the High Performance Youth Programs. Are these programs tailored towards specific communities, or is generally available to any community?
Again, thank you for your question. And through the Chair, previously, the TTFA High Performance Program really centered towards communities that we believe would have had young people and talented youth. Now, out of the TTFA High Performance Program, we created TTFA High Performance Sub-Centers. So the sub-centers, they are being implemented in those rural communities, some of the at-risk communities, so that we have a broader view and a broader access to young people and young talent. And in age groups from as low as under 11 all the way up. Yeah?
Chair. The question actually should have really wanted to focus, how are you reaching the young people in the at-risk communities? Let's say you have to go into Mova or in the zone in Tinapuna. How do you reach there where barriers are there to reach? They can't come out, you probably can't go in. How do you intend to reach them?
Thank you for your question, Senator Nakhid. Again, the TTFA is all-inclusive, and we have been able to implement football throughout Trinidad and Tobago, including areas such as those where you would have mentioned. And our coaches, our staff have been in touch and in those communities, to assess what is going on there with regards to football and the TTFA sanctioning of, different tournaments. So in terms of our reach is very extensive, and I believe that all across Trinidad and Tobago football is being played, and the TTFA has been very much in touch and in tune with getting the sport to be,
Just a follow-up to that. Do you have any data available to tell us how many players came out of any of those at-risk communities that represent either a regional team or the national team?
Well, I wouldn't have the data in front of me, but that definitely we have a database with regards to players coming through the national teams and the ranks and where they are from, what they have been doing, their background, and so on. The school that they would have, went to, and all that kind of information. Yeah.
Sorry, would you be able to forward that to the committee, that information? The data fields?
Yes, we could forward that information if you want it during a specific time period. You could make mention of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In writing over, what would be a reasonable time period? Last 5 years?
Yeah, last 5 years. Yeah.
Okay, could you tell us also how many outreach initiatives the TTFA hosted in 2025?
The TTFA would have hosted quite a number of outreach initiatives from the primary school levels to secondary schools and throughout our zones. Right? Our membership is also broken up into zones, and the zones would also be able to give access to young persons. So in terms of the number of outreach programs, we have even signed on with FIFA to do FIFA football for schools. So off the top of my head, I wouldn't be able to give a number, but I could give an idea of many of the outreach programs we would have had in 2025. Secondary schools football league, the primary schools football league, the FIFA football for schools, the Republic Bank youth tournaments. All these programs present an avenue to reach and to get in touch with the young people, and including the programs such as the safeguarding programs and many other programs that could really get the participation of young folks.
So how many coaches would you have in schools right now? You must have a number, because it's a community outreach and you do your outreach by coaches. So how many coaches do you have in schools right now, primary, secondary?
So in terms of the schools, generally how the football landscape in the schools would be that the secondary school, they have their league, the primary schools, they have their league. And of course, they would engage their coaches, coaches from the community who would have more or less been certified TTFA coaches to deliver on their coaching, especially in the secondary school. So particularly all the major secondary schools participating in the secondary schools football Premier League would have had certified TTFA coaches administering their coaching abilities in those schools. So if there are 20 schools participating in the secondary schools football Premier League, then that will definitely be 20 coaches certified under the TTFA, whether it's the B license, the C license, or what have you. Yes?
So schools not participating in the what you call the SSFL, they wouldn't have access to that coaching as well? So a team down in Carpachima, they will have a coach from the TTFA?
Yeah, so again, those schools will engage their own coach. The TTFA wouldn't send a coach to a school, but their education, the coaching education would have come from the TTFA. So they too would be part of our database.
Thank you. Well, you mentioned in your submission that resource constraints were an issue, including the need for more trained coaches, referees, and program administrators. So what are the main barriers to recruiting and retaining trained coaches, referees, and program administrators?
Definitely, most definitely, the TTFA, we are interested in empowering more persons through our programs, our coaching programs, refereeing programs, and so on. But we are restricted by resources. So one of the main barriers are resources, financial and otherwise. The TTFA budget would have been cut significantly over the last couple of years. I could say that the government subvention would have increased for different programs being administered by the TTFA from the professional league level all the way down to the youth level. And so that, that kind of put a strain on how we deliver on our programs, on how we deliver coaching courses, how we deliver different administrative courses, and so on. So the main barrier is the access to resources.
Sure. Well, in the interest of transparency, could you give us some hard figures, like what the amount was and how much it has been cut to, what percentage reduction you've had?
So within the last, I should say, the last 5 years or so, for instance, let's say the Trinidad and Tobago Premier Football League, which previously was the TT Pro League, I believe we would have received subvention prior in the tune of, I believe it was $6 million US over a certain period. Now we are receiving just $3 million US over the same period. So again, resources that we would have had directed in one area now has to be shifted in another area to really keep that program going as efficient as it could be. So, so issues like that really affect how we, function in terms of financial resources and so on.
Yes, I understand. And you also mentioned Republic Bank. Are they still a sponsor?
Republic Bank, we recently entered into a new conversation with Republic Bank because we are approaching 30 years of the Republic Bank Youth Football Tournament. And this year, Republic Bank have been realigning the way that the youth football program is being delivered so that on the 30th year anniversary, we expect a new conversation, a new engagement to make the tournament better. So for this year, for 2025, the TTFA, we are running that program on our own because the Republic Bank, they would have basically taken a sabbatical, so to speak, with regards to their sponsorship and involvement in the tournament.
2025 or 2026?
2026. My apologies.
Sure.
2025, they sponsored the tournament.
In 2026, they've taken a sabbatical.
Correct. And with the intent to come back for a 30th year anniversary in 2027 tournament.
Minister Rajman had a question.
Sure, Chair, through you. Has the association reached out to any other businesses in the private sector for some sort of corporate sponsorship or partnership?
Yes, most definitely, especially during our World Cup campaign last year, 2025. We would have engaged companies like Sunshine Snacks, some of the energy companies, for sponsorship to assist with the TTFA mandate. So outside of the state enterprises like NGC and others, we would have definitely reached out to a number of private sector entities for sponsorship. So in some areas, we are successful, not 100%, but there has been interest in terms of because of the popularity of the sport and what it could deliver.
Minister Dowlath, you had a question?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Through you, Chair. In your submissions, TTFA, you indicated that you are looking at increasing the participation at the youth level in football. And so what I would like is the information in terms of the collaboration, especially with schools, especially with disaggregated with boys and girls. How many schools have you collaborated with up to this point, both at the primary and secondary? Because it's part of the holistic development of the young people, and football is a national sport. Everybody is interested in it. You also indicated that you have collaboration with community groups. And one of the things is that schools are set in communities. And so the students go on from schools naturally to certain clubs and certain groups and things like that. So if we could get from you an understanding of those pathways from early childhood, primary, secondary. You know how students and parents will choose a particular school and then they will want to choose a particular football club to go on to. Do you have that kind of organization at the youth level? Because if you intend to increase the youth participation from the FIFA perspective.
Thank you for your question, Dr. Dowlath, and through the chair again. So the TTFA has charted a clear pathway in terms of football development and acceleration in Trinidad and Tobago. And late 2024 into 2025, one of the key programs we would have launched is the FIFA football for schools, and that was in collaboration with FIFA, also the Ministry of Education and Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs. And that program at the launch would have seen 40-something plus primary schools participating in the launch, and we were able to certify coaches directed at delivering the FIFA Football for Schools program in the primary schools that would keep those primary schools that really were not participating in football, bring them into the football landscape to join the primary schools that we would have already have, participating and playing football in the primary schools football league. So once we get a larger number of participation from the primary school level, advancing up to the secondary school level, and then breaking out from secondary school to semi-professional football and professional football, then it gives us a wider reach regarding how many youngsters are involved in the sport. So coming out of the FIFA Football for Schools, it doubled the amount of schools participating in primary school football. And then it encouraged more secondary schools to get involved in the different categories of secondary school football. Not only the Premier Division, but the Championship Division, the lower age group division. So advancing to the secondary school level, which gives an opportunity for youngsters to be seen, to be engaged by universities outside of Trinidad and Tobago. Also provides part of the pathway where youngsters are being scouted by not only our national coaches, but universities coming here and being able to see them play, to see them participate in their clubs and so on. And then that push to our TTFA Tier 2 level football that currently has 21 teams participating, which again is a double of what we had before, to give more opportunities to a wider cross-section of players from Trinidad and Tobago to participate in the football. And then you're playing good in the Tier 2, obviously you're going to be advancing into the Tier 1 football because you would have excelled in the Tier 2. And then that also gives an opportunity for an international club to, look at your performance and give an opportunity to, a player to go out there and scout football. And the TTFA, what we have been able to do is to make all this available and accessible, not only physically, but also over digital media and so on. So our football league, it is being, it is also one of the football leagues that the FIFA Plus TV program that is, really a worldwide accessible program. Our football league, our Premier Football League, is one of the programs on that platform. So, it gives access to coaches, colleges, universities, and clubs across the
Thank you so much for that comprehensive answer. Perhaps I could ask Mr. Piper to talk more about the national team, and as this being a feeder to the national team. And I also wanted to do a follow-up question about the vulnerable youth and their access to this pathway. Okay. So what about do the vulnerable youths access this pathway and make it onto the national team and probably access football as a career? Perhaps Mr. Piper could.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the question, Madam Chair. So what Mr. Riggs outlined was the pathway that from grassroots all the way up to our professional level football. In principle, everybody that is within that participates is eligible to be part of the national team setup. In that, our national team coaches do go and scout when they have tournaments being run from all the different age groups, under 15, under 17, seniors, right? On a match day basis, we have our members of our men's senior national team go and look at the TTPFL Tier 1 games, which is the highest level of football in Trinidad and Tobago. Obviously, those from that pool of players is basically the locally based players that would make it to the men's senior national team. Our men's senior national team, we have a pool of basically about 60 players, of which I would say 50% is locally based and another 50% is foreign based. However, what you find in principle happening though at the men's senior national team level and specifically is that the more than 50% of the actual final squad that is taken into any match day, because football in the world is split up into about 5 different international match windows. So the teams that made the final squad for the men's senior national team, which is the highest level of football, the flagship for the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, is really made up mostly by foreign-based players, because the foreign-based players, more or less, would have been excelling here locally and been able to attract international exposure where they will get plenty much more financial rewards from.
Excuse. On that party that Mr. Riggs discussed, he discussed the Tier 2.
Yes.
How many games have been played so far this season in Tier 2?
The Tier 2 is due to start next week. And they have 21 teams, yes. They have 21 teams.
Okay. Back to your point about the foreign players.
Yes.
You said that many of them started their career here. How many of them that finished in the last qualifying series that we failed to qualify, how many of them were actually started their careers here? Started their careers here?
When I did the match from when we started our first World Cup qualifier, which was in June 2024, we have 41 players used in that pool of players for the qualifying campaign. Of that 41 players, I would say 23 of them started their careers here in Trinidad and Tobago, out of the 41.
And the final 11, basically final 16, I wouldn't say 11, but the final 16, how many of them started their careers here and were developed here in Trinidad and Tobago?
It's a final 26 that we've been using for when the World Cup qualifying.
26.
Out of the 26, we had 14 of them started their careers here in Trinidad. 14 out of the 26.
Okay.
And the final 26 that was used in the second phase of World Cup qualifying this year.
Can you provide the names of those 14 later to the committee?
Certainly.
All right.
Thank you. My question really is, what specific strategies, partnerships, and mechanisms are being used to include the at-risk youth in this pathway and from across diverse communities to ensure that they have access to these programs?
In terms of our strategy has always been to ensure that we collect, that we engage particularly all the youth academies in these communities, that we engage a wide cross-section of different age groups to ensure that, we cover many of the, if not all of the young, talented, and interested footballers. And we have created a database we have even gone so far to create a database for academies from communities. They now register with the TTFA. So that gives us a clear indication of how many performing academies we have in communities, how many live academies or football clubs, if you want to call them that too, in the communities. So that, let alone, that gives a young person the opportunity to come and be a part of and involved in a setup that is more formal than ad hoc. And they also have that opportunity on a weekly basis to be in touch with, program administrators and the people who administer in the program.
Thank you for that. In the interest of time, because we only have 2 minutes, or you only have 2 minutes left, could you provide a list of those academies to the committee? And we just have 2 questions, one from Minister Ameen and one from Minister Ratiram, before we wrap up.
Thank you, Mr. Third Vice President. You mentioned in your submission that you have participation rates are more intense in rural areas. In the interest of time, I would appreciate if you could share with the committee a list of those rural areas. And my interest is because many of the recreation grounds fall under the regional corporations, and they have had challenges with the maintenance of those grounds in a decent manner to accommodate football playing. The David Nakhid League launched recently, and players were hesitant. They might twist their ankle. And we have to work more intensely with these regional corporations. So as you do your programs, if you provide a list to the committee of those communities that you say you have intense participation, it would help inform us to do better work.
Certainly.
In the maintenance of the grounds.
Thanks, through the chair again. Certainly, Mr. Ameen, and I love the direction that you went in, because the facilities are primary to us delivering these programs. And if we are to deliver effective programs in communities, then most certainly we need proper facilities. And we definitely have had challenges with recreation grounds in the regional corporation area. So far that clubs under the TTFA would have taken it up on their own to do the work to have the ground prepared and ready to play football, to train football and so on. And it will definitely help. And I know even, and I don't want to speak for cricket board, but they also encounter the same kind of obstacles.
Thanks. You mentioned challenges and obstacles. Can you list some?
With regards?
Yeah. The specific challenges you've experienced.
Overall, or regarding the grounds,
the facilities.
Yes.
Yeah.
So access in terms of booking a facility, a ground, the cutting and preparation of the grass, the field, the surface, the preparation of the surface, keeping it in good order. Additionally, the markings on the ground, generally clubs and individuals from the community, they do that for themselves. They would spend the money to buy a bucket of paint that is $500.
Access is also, access to the facility is also an issue.
An issue, yes, so access.
And I think we have one final question from Minister Ratiram.
Thank you most kindly, Chair. And a pleasant good morning to each and every one of you. Thank you all very much for the service that you are providing to the country, especially in helping these youths. My question to you this morning concerns the requests with respect to the police resource, the waiver of the police resource. In your submission, you mentioned that football has been able to penetrate all markets and communities. However, a waiver of police resource cost would assist greatly when security transportation is needed. Can you kindly elaborate on the challenges experienced due to the police resource cost and how do these costs affect program delivery?
Thank you for your question. So just to try and break it down as small as possible. Our tournaments that we deliver here, our official tournaments that we deliver in Trinidad here under CONCACAF and FIFA, one of the requirements, and a big requirement, is security, of course. And the police escort comes into play once you're talking security in Trinidad and Tobago, whether it be ground transport or within the stadia and so on. And we have found that the cost of retaining the assistance of the TTPS has been high and constantly increasing. So, for instance, a match day in the stadium where we require the police security, then you're looking at a hefty price tag to have the officers within the stadia. And then when we look at, so although we have the TTPS as security, we have to retain a private security firm too to assist, because the police, the TTPS, they don't stand by the gate. So we have to have private security stand by the gate. So we're paying for police, private security, and fire services to guard the aisles and to ensure that, safety, health and safety is being delivered efficiently. So these are major costs, and we would have a bar to raise some funds for the FA. So, once you have a bar, then the TTPS, they would give which officers, which constable, which ACP at a price tag to the TTFA, and we had to pay that bill up front. So that is a major issue with regards to our tournaments, and then the ground transport. So a requirement of CONCACAF and FIFA, once those international teams are in the country, we must provide police escort. And the police escort price tag is a hefty one too, so that it's an upfront cost. If we don't pay it, we don't get the police escort, and then in turn we are fined by the tournament governors, which are FIFA or CONCACAF. So we have asked in the past for, seeing that these are national sporting events to us, we have asked in the past for those costs to be considered waived in order to, be a little more, to again receive a bigger return on, our, let's say, our.
Thank you. Yeah. We understand. So especially seeing that your budget has been cut by 50%, this would be a way to offset that loss from the subvention. So
yes.
Thank you for that. Okay, well, it's 11:12, so you've had your time plus 5. What is that they call added on time? So
extra time.
Extra time. Extra
you.
time or injury time.
Yes, you have it right.
So we would like to move on, please, to the next body, which is the Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board. So I would like to ask, in your submission, you listed programs which target vulnerable and at-risk youth, including the Enterprise Initiative, the Coaching Caravan, and the Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board Grassroots Cricket Program. So regarding the Grassroots Cricket Program, is this program currently operational?
A pleasant good morning again to the distinguished members of the Joint Select Committee. The Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board, you would have seen in our mandate, is to ensure the development of cricket throughout the country. And we hinge on the inclusiveness of all able-bodied persons who are interested in cricket. For example, we would have assisted the differently abled in addition to all our programs. But as you mentioned, Madam Chair, we have the cricket board is made up of zones, 7 zones in Trinidad, and we have Tobago. And these zones are responsible for inviting players from secondary, from primary schools and so on to be in preparation for tournaments, in preparation for the regional tournament. But in addition to that, the grassroots program, which when we had it now, in about approximately 4 years, we haven't had the grassroots program due to absence of funding. But that did not prevent us from trying to reach out to and ensure that there's talent identification. We have embarked after our retreat with the executive to have a coaching caravan where we have targeted the 4 corners of Trinidad and Tobago. And just recently, 2 weeks ago, we went to the southeast area where we had a session at Rio Claro West. And there were a few students from Rio Claro East present, and we know Minister Dowlath would be aware that there are some issues with Rio Claro East at the moment, but they were quite disciplined when they came to the program. Our grassroots program, with the 7 centers in each zone, captures possibly about 800 to 1,000 students, youths. And it is on a face-to-face basis so that we are able to track the data. We have a database at the National Cricket Center where we are able to monitor and evaluate their progress from phase 1 to phase 2. And therefore, from the grassroots, they are able to filter into primary school teams, secondary school teams, the zonal team, and eventually into the national senior team. The enterprise initiative as a deterrence to crime was very effective, and it shows the importance of collaboration with the different ministries. And when we were able to, so we would have had quite a number of national cricketers who were able to graduate from that program. And you have Salim Khan, you have Daniel Holder, who are presently on a national under-17 team. Salim Khan is the captain. Akil Hussain, present West Indies cricketer, who's on the way to the international T20. He would have graduated from Lavantil and so on. And then we have other cricketers around Trinidad where similar programs would have been conducted. But the effectiveness of the enterprise initiative, where we had the police service collaboration, we targeted every area in the enterprise district. And the communication was quite effective, where we communicated with the various important stakeholders. The corporate sector came on board. There were over 150 participants, and every youth, every child received cricket equipment from, we had Ramsing Sports Center who would have done that. And
thank you. So you're saying that enterprise was very effective. Yes. How many participants are currently involved in the enterprise program?
Well, due to lack of funding, it was not continued for a while, but it has recently started. And again, you have on average maybe about 50 to 60 who have continued.
Okay, we have a follow-up question.
Thank you, Chair, through you. Thank you, Mr. Bask. You mentioned that you had some corporate entities who came on board as well. Can you identify, if it's a long list, happy to get it in writing, but just roughly which corporate entities you were able to get some sort of sponsorship, partnership, or funding from?
We mainly ask for sponsorship from the sports company and the Office of the Prime Minister Sport and Culture Fund with the preparation of our national teams. However, to offset costs with our age group cricket and so on, we approach various sponsors. We have Price Club Supermarket that would have come on board recently, Carrick Security Company, who would have helped us with the under-17 program. Of course, Vasha Foods in Shoguna's area. and also Best Motors would have come on board with our under 15. So we have started back to gain the confidence of the corporate sector in getting that sponsorship back on board.
What was the amount of funding that you received from Sport TT?
Well, usually it is in the vicinity of, based on our requisition and so on, approximately $800 to $1 million.
800 to $1 million. And that's primarily for your national programs?
Yes, because on average, under 15, the tournament and the under 17, under 19 takes approximately 150 to 200,000.
So then, who then funds your developmental programs?
Various activities, we would approach the Sport and Culture Fund, and we would submit a proposal, like for grassroots and so on, sport company of Trinidad and Tobago. Sometimes so
the Office of the Prime Minister then?
Yes, correct.
Funds,
yes.
funds okay.
Yes.
So why, you just mentioned that you gained the confidence of corporate Trinidad and Tobago. Why was there a disconnect before?
I would not say that there was a total disconnect, but sometimes certain factors arise, such as little propaganda and so on that would have caused.
I don't know what that means.
Well, there were some concerns, and but we were
the administration of the sport. That's basically this.
Well, there some issues would have arisen, but we were able to come out of it successfully and regain the public confidence.
Okay.
Chair, before I ask this question, I just want to acknowledge the presence of Mr. Manik Dibadeen, who was a former Deputy Mayor of Chaguanas, who has been very active and I know very dedicated to cricket for many years.
He is.
And I see in your submission that you indicate participation rates across rural and urban areas are consistent. I am interested in the rural areas. What rural areas has the Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board been consistently active in? And what are some of the feedbacks that you would have out of those events?
Well, the Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board reaches out. We try to encompass the entire of Trinidad and Tobago. So there's no specific area. We target, well, as I mentioned, all the zones are actively involved with under 13, under 15, under 17, under 19 preparation as well, with boys and girls. And the two units in our on the board, primary and secondary, would have also done their part, so that wherever there are participants that would not fit into the primary, secondary, or zonal, we have our initiatives such as the coaching caravan and grassroots that would ensure that all persons are involved.
What I would be interested in is hearing of your challenges. Just as I asked the representative of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, I am aware that cricket clubs on a whole, cricket players on a whole, have challenges with the grounds and the recreation grounds. They have to get the dirt to prepare the pitch, the arrangements for that with the regional corporations, and many times they do it on their own. What I really would like to elicit from you, and you could send in writing, is in terms of where we can have improvement to the maintenance of the recreation facilities that would make your use of the facilities easier. Yeah, so in general, whether it is whichever part of the country, but rural development and local government, our ministry coordinates with the 14 municipalities that are responsible for many of the grounds you use. So I will appreciate if you could send back to the Parliament challenges based on consultation with your members on ways we could improve in those areas.
I thank you, Ms. Ameen, for that contribution, and I just wanted to mention that when we have good facilities, this motivates the youths and to want to participate, to want to be part in sport as compared to developed nations. We do communicate with all regional corporations post-cricket season and informing them as to the areas that we would want attention toward. For example, the pavilion, the dressing rooms, the toilet facilities, water, electricity. And then we communicate with the zones to follow up, to ensure that they continue the communication to be able to get those things done. But yes, there is a concern with the availability of material for the making of the pitches, because there was that concern that was raised at a previous board meeting, where turf material now, the accessibility to it is diminishing. So we are reaching out to the University of the West Indies, and there was another geologist who we had consulted with, looking at various other types of materials that we can use if it is that the turf material is no longer available. So we are looking at a plan B.
Chair, through you, Mr. Bash, could you elaborate on the turf material not being available? Is it a shortage? What's happening? And what alternative? You said you were reaching out to UE and another entity.
Yeah, well, yeah, thank you, Ms. Roberts. Well, it can actually be of a positive, a benefit when you're looking at a different surface with mixture of materials, based on what the geologists would have mentioned, because in that way, we might get a bouncier surface. We might get a surface that will better be able to prepare our national teams when they have to face good fast bowlers from Barbados or Jamaica. There was a stockpile where the regional corporation, I think down in South, would have made available to the various clubs, who would have arranged their transport with trucks to go and collect. And but we still have that available. We have a member of our board, Dr. Alan Sami, who usually makes that arrangement for us. And so it is still available, but we are not waiting for it to be completely gone, and then we look for alternate, right? So we are thinking, being proactive.
Thank you for that. Perhaps I could ask the view of Mr. Cooper as a player, how the impact of the facilities, the impact on your development and participation, and how you think that can actually impact the youth playing cricket.
Good morning all again. I think with better facilities, like the kids will be more motivated, and that joy and that passion will be there. When you look at other countries and see the facilities, and just comparing to us, I think the joy and the passion, like I said before, will be there to come out and just enjoy the game of cricket.
Thank you. And did it impact you?
Well, growing up, we didn't have the best of facilities, so we just make do with what we had. And yeah, I think that's basically it. We just had to find a way, basically.
So how did you overcome those challenges, and what support system did you have? Did you have support from the cricket board or other entities?
The cricket board had various programs where I progressed through, like through the age group under 13, under 15, under 17, and under 19. They also had I was also a part of the academy where they taught us like leadership skills, time management, nutrition and stuff like that. I think all those things played a big part in my development, not just as a cricketer, but a productive citizen. And so
That's excellent. Were you exposed to other youth who probably didn't follow that path, or, and why?
I think in my community, there was a large exposure to like a lot of negativity, drugs, violence. But for me, I choose the right thing. I choose the positive thing in society. There was some other players that was coming up with me. They didn't progress with cricket, but they choose the other path. Yeah.
What do you think we could do so that more people make the choices that you made?
Currently, my brothers and I, we created the Cooper 11 Foundation in our community, whereby we teach what we learned from like various programs through the cricket board. We try to help the kids to just not become cricketers, but become good citizens. So we don't only teach cricket, we teach like life skills, reaching on time, being well dressed. Even though some of them don't have shoes and stuff like that, we don't push them away. Like we encourage them to come and just learn like life skills and just enjoy cricket and make friends and stuff like that. So I think that is very beneficial to our community, and if these things will happen in other communities, I think Trinidad on a whole will be a much better place.
Yeah, thank you very much for setting up that foundation, and well done. Congratulations on that sterling effort.
Yeah.
I wish we had more people like you to guide the youth and also to share what you've learned with those who are coming after you.
Yeah, thank you.
I think Senator Nakhid had a question. Okay, Senator Roberts-Radgman.
All right, thank you, Senator Nakhid. Chair, through you, and congratulations and very well done to you, Mr. Cooper. Mr. Cooper or Mr. Bash, in general, outside of the foundation, what, especially from the boards, from the cricket boards perspective, what does your outreach look like to at-risk communities, vulnerable youth, and even through the schools as well? What does outreach look like?
Yep. Thank you, Member Roberts, Ms. Roberts. As mentioned previously, we have embarked on the coaching caravan, where the communication that went out to remote schools like Guayari, Rio Claro, Manzanilla, Beach, was that although the students might not have equipment, we want them to come. They might not have a shoe, even in the communication. If they have rubber slippers, they are invited. And when I was there, and they did come with those things, but we facilitated them with equipment and so on. And as I mentioned, we do intend to continue this, maybe at Toko, Blanchishes, Cedrus, and so on. So as far as our outreach program, we are also partnering with the Sport Company of Trinidad and Tobago with resumption of grassroots cricket, where they have earmarked 2 centers in each of the 7 zones. And this falls in line with the Five for Fun cricket, that is an initiative of Cricket West Indies. And it was very successful in reigniting the passion among youths throughout all primary schools, because at the recent symposium, CARICOM symposium, the emphasis was on the foundation, which is primary and secondary schools. And therefore, much of our effort is based on that, because we want continuity. We want more Pollards, we want more Bravos, more Sunil Narayans.
Coach, Mr. Dabadeen, Manager. Obviously, this isn't tenable for progress, from what I'm hearing. You cannot have, as Khadijah Ameen said, the minister, that cricket competing with football. I know about that personally. Cricket competing with football for space, for time, for all kind of things. The ground, people play and mash up the little turf that you all put. What is the way going forward?
Okay, good morning all again. And first of all, let me say a special thank you to Ms. Ameen for your kind sentiments expressed earlier and through my involvement at the Chaguanas Borough Corporation. And I think to answer your question very directly is that there must be a close collaboration with the Chaguanas Borough with the corporations throughout the country, because the corporations, they normally have the equipment, the facilities, and the resources to ensure that the grounds are adequately prepared so that we can have proper cricket and played throughout the country. Now, with the enterprise initiative, I just want to add something that was really omitted, and I think that the Chaguanas Borough Corporation would have played a very integral part in ensuring that that program came to fruition. However, we need to get greater support from the communities, and of course, and from the police service to ensure that there is continuity in this particular program, because it has really far-reaching effects to those youths in the vulnerable communities. So I personally would like to see a greater involvement with the stakeholders, the police, the Chaguanas Borough Corporation, and even the sponsors and so. But to answer your question very directly, I think that we need to have that greater collaboration with the Chaguanas Borough Corporation to ensure that we have the grounds ready and all the other corporations throughout the country.
Well, I think everybody would admit there are enough green spaces in Trinidad and Tobago. Mostly. We have the spaces. But we cannot continue to have these courts, but especially football and cricket. You know that yourself. To prepare a pitch for cricket, you need time, and for it to be properly vetted. I think Mr. Cooper, he expressed how happy or motivated he was to have a good facility, or if they see a good facility. So what about the idea of having cricket-specific facilities in each community? Have you all made that proposal, presented that to the government at any point in time?
Your recommendation is ideal for the sport, so that if cricket can have their own facility
in each community,
that will be ideal. So it will be cost effective. At the moment, what I have seen is that I am the coach of my club, that's Alaskan Comets in Charleville. We have a serious problem in terms of sharing this facility with the Ramlila committee. When the Ramlila is played during the rainy season, the ground is in, I can't say deplorable condition. Yes, the corporation will assist and so, but it is not, at the moment, we had to do our own, I had to pay several $1,000s to have the ground prepared, to get my sponsor to assist with a roller and to make sure that the ground is ready. So I'm saying that if we can have these facilities separate and ideal for cricket and football, it's the best thing that could happen in Trinidad and Tobago.
Chair, I'd like to, based on what he says, that for sport to progress, if you all agree with me, both for cricket and football, our two major sports, we must have specific facilities for those two sports in every constituency. And I think if we have a proposal from football and cricket to the government, especially to this Prime Minister, I think that would be helpful.
Thank you very much.
That's very heartwarming coming from the Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Sport. So I think you'll get some support there. So we look forward to those proposals. The idea of football specific and cricket specific just makes sense. Minister Dowlath, you had a question?
Yes, thank you very much. Chair, I want to concur with Senator Nakhid, especially with the collaboration with the football and the cricket. I want to say too that there are many school grounds that are available if they are supported by the community, and there's that kind of collaboration with the Football Association and cricket. The football is starting some of the programs and they're getting traction. Cricket has been around a little longer and they're well organized. And so we could probably look at the whole management structure, and together you all could, as you collaborate, get a stronger management system in place. I want to say, though, sport has a positive influence on the behavior of young people. And in your submission, the Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board, you would have spoken about using the school support system for behavioral issues. So I want to hear a little bit more about that. But I also want to ask young Mr. Cephas Cooper, how did his secondary school career influence his ascendancy to the national team in terms of, there's always this balance about your academics and your sporting, and then sometimes you have to give up your academics to pursue your sports. And I've known young Mrs. Cooper for a while, and I know he is an outstanding academic, and he was able to balance that. So I wanted to tell young people of Trinidad and Tobago, the secondary school that allowed him that kind of balance, and also too, how he was able to follow that pathway, just like how I asked the Football Association about the pathway, where he came from and how he was, because I'm very interested in how the school system can support, Chair, the vulnerable athletes and, in moving forward to these global careers. So firstly, the first Vice Chair, in terms of the collaboration and how they use the ministry's student support services, because sport has its own discipline, but there are moments of indiscipline, and we want to improve that kind of collaboration.
Definitely, Dr. Dowlath. The Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board, through its programs, as Mr. Cooper would have mentioned, we give certain responsibilities to the participants. For example, leadership roles. When they have the ability, I'm just going around to get to that issue, that question, and when they are able to participate in that way, it builds their character. Given responsibilities, conflict resolution, and so on. So yes, we do have a few incidents where the participants, the youths, they come with little behavioral issues, but we are quite systematic at the Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board with our disciplinary procedures. We have a code of conduct, code of ethics, a procedure for disciplinary matters. We have committees for disciplinary procedures. There were instances where, we are fortunate to have a school supervisor as a board member, and we would have written to the Ministry of Education through him to invite the student support services to conduct lectures in different programs. We have also written to the sport company of Trinidad and Tobago to have sports psychologists also come to deliver lectures, to provide guidance to the youths as to shaping their behavior and modeling their behavior as and mentoring them towards a specific outcome. So we have engaged the student support services, and we continue to do so.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cooper, you have 2 minutes to answer Minister Dowlath's question before we move on.
Yes, Mr. Dr. Dowlath was my school principal at Naparima College. And at Naparima College, there I really experienced the professional, being a professional, the environment where they had coaches, the indoor facility, and that really fueled that passion and that desire within me to even go higher and higher. I never just stopped. Like I said, as a cricketer, I always wanted to be more. And at NAPS, they helped me with everything, academics. He even offered me a computer where I could do my work. And I think there I learned to and my mindset changed, and I started thinking about becoming the best version of myself. And through cricket, I will say I am truly blessed to experience a lot of things in life. And going to NAPS was truly a blessing to me. And I would say cricket has provided a lot of opportunities for me, seeing where I came from, and the sky is just the limit. So I'm thankful for everything that God has blessed me with. It was truly amazing so far. So yeah.
Thank you so much and congratulations. Well done. And we applaud you as well for giving back to the community and providing such a shining example of what cricket can offer and other sports to the vulnerable youth. Okay, so we're moving on now to boxing, to the Trinidad and Tobago Boxing Association. So I'll address this to the General Secretary, Mr. Ramuta. Your submission states that the majority of athletes in boxing come from the youth population. Could you specify what you mean by the youth population and indicate the main areas or communities that your participants come from?
Yes, morning again, and thanks for having us. Good morning, special morning to those of the viewing public and those of the boxing community. Boxing, sport of boxing, we don't cater specifically for the youth or those older than considered youth. A youth, there's a different definition. We have us who as a youth. In boxing, we have categories for youth, elite, and junior. My technical person isn't here to give you the specifics. That's Mr. Cox. However, I'll say that we cater for all persons interested in boxing. However, we notice a lot of youth come to us through various gyms in the community. We have private gyms located all over the country, and through their participation, the association identifies those that are in need, and we facilitate the gyms in participation. What's the other part of your question?
I'm so sorry. What communities do the participants come from?
Well, it's widespread.
Yes.
It's widespread throughout the country. We have deep down south, central, Port of Spain, in the east, all over.
Okay, that's excellent. Your submission also mentioned that your programs are not specifically designed to reach vulnerable youth, but vulnerable youth tend to gravitate towards your organization. Do you currently conduct outreach initiatives in vulnerable or underserved communities directed at engaging at-risk or vulnerable youth?
No, we don't we don't specify on vulnerable youths. We specify on all persons. However, as I said, there is certain attractiveness in looking at someone fight. And grassroots are different levels of grassroots. And I think boxing, maybe only basketball can say we are the lowest rung at the ladder in grassroots. Volunteerism can only take you so far. Everything in boxing is on a volunteer basis. Our coaches, the boxers don't even pay a fee to come to the gym. We go to corporate sponsors for equipment, and that has gone by the wayside now. We stopped getting corporate sponsors. First, they ask us, what's your attendance at the pavilion? How much person participate, spectator in your sport? We are not as popular as the other colleagues. My colleagues on the left, when I hear 6 million US, I know to run, jump, whatever. I don't want to jump the question, but keeping on the point, we asked for $3 million. We got 255,000. That is just, and that pays just for travel and accommodation for about 6 or 7 boxers to go to compete. And that's for the year. Where are we going to get the funding to continue programs and so on? Coming back to your question, so the vulnerable youths, yes, they come to us and they participate. Some of them drop out, some of them stay on. And that attraction is what allows our coaches to sort of mentor to them and keep them and teach them discipline. Many of the vulnerable youths, they are barjones in the community, and in engaging in the discipline or the training of the sport, they realize that barjonism lasts for an hour. But boxing is a lot of training, a lot of hours going to training. So you wear them down, you psychologically break them down, and then build them back up. So in coaching program, we try to teach our coaches to be fathers, mothers, big brothers, big sisters to the boxers. And so it's a sort of a mentorship, but it cannot be directly, they'll run away. They have to be indirectly, in a subtle way, try to school them into better behavior and so on. Like I said, our participants, our boxers are from the lowest, well, the majority, not all, the majority are from the lowest rung of the grassroots ladder.
Thanks. Minister Ameen and then Minister Roberts-Radgman.
Yeah, just wanted to get from Mr. Ramuta. You said that in terms of grassroots level for boxing, can you tell us, you could send it in writing after also, a list of the communities where the Trinidad and Tobago Boxing Association has facilities or gyms. And I'm certain that you may have other communities that you would like to establish gyms. Can you share with us a list of those?
Yes, of course, I can do that. But off the top of my head, I can tell you Siparia, Chaguanas, Diego Martin, sometimes in Laventil, Arima. And we have 10 schools on board.
Okay.
And we have written to 12 other schools, and I can give you that in writing. I wouldn't want to identify the schools here.
Sure.
Because in years come by, we had to lobby the schools to bring boxing to the school. There was a bit of hesitant with that. We had to temper our program to make it non-contact for the schools. So we are engaging in non-contact boxing in the schools.
And you would have identified or earmarked areas for establishment of additional gyms to reach more young people?
Yes.
Right, so you could share that with us.
Yes, certainly.
You had mentioned private gyms, so these are not private gyms you're talking about.
Yes, all gyms are private.
All gyms are private, so
Yes.
there are no public gyms. But
No, so there's one at the National Stadium, but that's under renovation, so that we're under renovation for years now.
So forgive my ignorance, though. The youth they have unfettered access to these gyms.
Yes.
So in terms of funding, how is that? How does that work?
From their own pocket, coaches.
I think Minister Radgman had a follow-up question.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, exactly on the funding concerns, Mr. Ramuta, because the amount that you would have indicated versus the amount that you actually got,
Yes.
There's a gap. And you indicated that corporate sponsorship has been a challenge.
Yes.
And you mentioned one of the challenges would be they keep asking, I guess, about the viewership or the audience.
Yes.
So 2 questions for you. Were there other challenges identified by maybe corporate sponsors that would have led to some sort of hesitancy to provide sponsorship? And also in terms of addressing the viewership, is there anything that the association has looked to increase viewership, or anything that, I guess, from other stakeholders, from the government, from civil sector as well, that you might be able to lean in on in order to increase the viewership and even address the other challenges that you're having right now?
Funding is a major problem. We have to keep encouraging our coaches to stick in there, hold on there. So they do it out of a sort of intrinsic value. They gotta love the sport, to be in it. There are times we have to give boxers money to buy food. That is how bad it is. And sponsors like to advertise their product, right? So according to the spectatorship you have, it's how much they will put into it. We get Blue Waters, and they give us water for events and so on. That's it. We don't get any money as such.
How long have you been experiencing? How long have you been experiencing these funding problems?
For years.
For years?
Yeah.
Be specific.
10 years.
10 years?
Yes.
How long has the association been in existence?
About 40, 50 years.
So what happened prior to?
We used to get sponsorship from corporate sponsors. Things wasn't so bad in the country, meaning that it wasn't such of a challenge for coaches to volunteer themselves and time and effort. But things have turned downturn in the economy and all that.
Does it have anything to do with the several disputes that have arisen with the administration?
No, that's recent. That's just about a year or more.
So you have difficulty in your funding for 10 years. You have problems to get corporate funding. The connection with the community outreach, because I know personally there's a private gym in Basilon Street, correct?
Yes.
You said that there's unfettered access, but at some point in time, coaches can't keep paying from their pockets.
Correct.
How are you going to keep that engagement then?
I can't give any guarantee without funding. We have to encourage the coaches to do as the best, the gyms to do as the best they can.
Mr. Ahmed, you understand me. If there's a problem, you want to go in circles. If there's a problem with the administration, corporate people have left. You said there's been a problem with funding for the last 10 years. So that means government has dropped the ball in the last 10 years.
Funding has been reduced. I wouldn't say drop the ball. Funding has been reduced.
It has been reduced. You wouldn't call that dropping the ball? If as far as you're concerned, you're happy with that decreased funding?
Yes.
You're happy with the decreased funding?
No, I'm happy with the term, decreased funding.
Okay. All right.
So we've established that there's decreased funding, and what we're really trying to get at is what would you suggest or recommend to increase the funding so that you can have your initiatives breathe life into them again? Yeah, including probably approaching corporate sponsors so that we're open to your suggestions, and then maybe after Ms. Guy can also suggest what, from her personal experience, because she submitted an excellent submission, and so we'd like to hear from her as well.
Okay. If our coaches can be paid a stipend, if we can purchase equipment for gyms, if we can have certain events be sponsored, boxing events, just office stationery, a computer, a printer, those are simple things that are taken for granted, we don't have. We have to have barbecue, raffle, fundraising and so on, and that is nothing compared to the expense that we have to endure.
What about nutrition for your athletes? Because I think boxing is like high energy, so.
Yes, well, depend upon their own, they have to stand their own expense. We don't have any funding to assist.
Okay, the Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you very much, Chair. And Chair, this concern as you just raised there, I was waiting on the entire team to make the presentation to ask as it relates to nutritional support for all our athletes from football, cricket, boxing, basketball, you name it. It is something that, we don't really speak much of and we don't hear much of while we treat with the facilities and other matters as the security, police, and so forth. One of the most important contributor and input factor in producing the most effective, efficient, lean, mean, successful athletes is the fuel that we put into the athletes, which is the food support system. And I would really like to hear from the different representatives what kind of programs or collaborations or proposal that we would like to look into with respect to providing nutritional support for our athletes and ensuring that we produce top-class, world-class, premium athletes.
Well, we'd be happy to receive that in writing from each of the national governing bodies. That would help us tremendously. And perhaps Ms. Guy can contribute as well.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Regarding the nutritional aspect, that is a current major issue taking place not only within my sport, but various sports. Specifically talking from the standpoint of boxing. Boxing is a sport that is categorized by weight divisions. So you need to balance your nutrition to fit within your weight division, but at the same time have enough energy to expend in a fight. Currently, few athletes have access to funding through the Elite Athlete Assistance Program, But to achieve that, you have to be ranked within the top 40 in the world. So it's a very big gap that few athletes could mitigate or could reach. And then when we break that down into attracting high-risk or at-risk youths, the first question they ask is, if it is I step away from my lucrative negative behaviors, what is there in it for me in boxing? And we can't answer that question because we have no funding for nutrition. We have elite level world rank boxers that have not received any funding and not being funded, and everything comes out of pocket. Now, when it is the athletes do approach corporate, as Mr. Ramuta would have indicated, the first thing corporate asks is what visibility is there for them. I personally have reached out to many corporate entities, and specifically one marketing manager told me that we know what we get with cricket and football. We don't know what visibility is there in boxing, how often do you compete, where do you compete, things like that. So it's a multifaceted problem where the sport isn't visible enough through events, because we need to have a lot more boxing events within the country to sort of highlight the sport, because there's a lot of interest in the sport. Everywhere I go, every people I interact with, male, female, young, old, have an interest in the sport at various levels, recreational and competitively. But there are a lot of, as I said, areas that need rectifying, nutrition being a main one.
Thank you for that. It sounds as though boxing is having difficulty standing alone. Is there any opportunity to collaborate with another sport so that you could have like an event, like another sport is that popular sport, and you piggyback onto that sport with exhibition matches or something? Would that generate interest?
So I personally took the initiative and put together an event called The Headliner, where we merged with kickboxing and stick fighting, sort of to highlight the cultural combat sports within the country. But one of the issues is that other combat sports as well suffer the same problem. So the kickboxers suffer that same problem. Some of the karate fraternity as well suffer the same problem. So I think it's an issue of perspective, or the way the combat world is being perceived to the public. As I said, it is being perceived as a sort of a grassroots, what's the word to use? Through the lens of being a grassroots sport, when there are more benefits, even financial benefits, to taking part and invested in combat sports.
I hear you, but what about non-combat sports? What about piggybacking onto non-combat sports? I mean, we have 5 national governing bodies in the room. I mean, I'm not a sporting aficionado, but is that possible?
What I can say is that it hasn't been considered before. It is a good initiative, a good idea, and I'll be open to hearing from the other sports how we could look into that. Because it is a very good idea that hasn't been considered before.
Thank you, Chair. More of an, I guess, recommendation or observation more so than a question, because I would have heard Mr. Ramuta mention that for a lot of the at-risk participants, for instance, when they come to the gyms, you have the opportunity to let them get that negative energy out. I think you said the bajans, but they're able to get the energy out. You get to break them down and build them back up. So maybe we can give some consideration to how we package and market, or repackage and market the sport, so that I guess the viewing public really kind of understands the value, especially for at-risk youth, particularly in terms of the getting the negative energy out and then building them back up. So I guess recalibrating how they even express themselves. So maybe collaborations through the Ministry of Education. I heard some mention of that. And then other ministries that deal with social development as well. Just sort of reframing what the sport does, especially for vulnerable youth, might make a difference in how we see it, and then it increases viewership, interest, and then also gets the attention of corporate sponsors.
Yeah, just to add to that before you answer, maybe you could tell us about some success stories, because you mentioned elite world rank boxers who are not getting funding. So is it that we are not promoting those boxers so that the public is not aware that we have world rank boxers? So maybe you could speak to that as well.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's an issue with regards to more could be done on both sides. The athletes themselves could probably take more initiative in marketing themselves in that way. As we know, we are in the age of social media where we have a lot of noise taking place. So whereas before people only had one radio station or probably one TV station where any sports taking place, that is the go-to station where everybody would know. Now we have, as I said, Instagram, Twitter, X, different things like that, that sort of bring noise to the table. So I think it's a case of more, I would say, outreach being done by the athletes themselves in collaboration with the association, going to schools and actually letting the communities and other youths know that, hey, we have world-round boxers. We have boxers that are in the top 5 in the world. We have boxers that, like I myself, I'm the first female boxer to represent Trinidad and Tobago at the Commonwealth Games. Before me, we didn't have a female boxer representative, which is another issue as well. There is a decline in participation in boxing within the females due to the fact of a lack of coaching capacity, because to get females involved in the sport, even at school levels, we need to have female coaches. And that is an issue that trying to mitigate by, I myself, I am setting up where I give free boxing classes to women and girls in the hope to introduce them to the sport and then further on to certify them so now we could take them and put them into the communities to sort of attract more female boxers as well. So it's an issue that could be addressed on both ends.
Minister Dowlath.
Yes, Chair, through you. I was very happy to hear that there are 10 schools where boxing has been introduced. And I like the version of the non-contact. Because, you see on social media, more girls these days than boys into the actual physical contact. And so I think it's a good initiative. And in your submissions, you would have said that school principals are pleading for your intervention. So if we could get the data from you, what areas those schools are, and the schools, and I am very interested in what Ms. Guy spoke about, in terms of those coaches who are available. I think it will be very strategic in terms of introducing them into a scientific way, in terms of the nutrition, in terms of the healthy lifestyle, in terms of exercise, and therefore a very constructive way, as Senator Roberts-Radgman said, of getting out that extra energy sometimes. And they could go on, as young Mr. Cooper and others would have to balance their, the social, the psychological with the academics and things like that and move up in the society. So I'll be looking forward to that information. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Mr.
I just want
Ramota.
I just want to re-emphasize in my opening introduction, volunteerism can only take us so far. So we have been wrung and squeezed to do as much as we can. Anything else, we need to be funded. We need to pay our coaches a little stipend. They have to leave time off from their work to come and coach. They have to invest time with delinquent children. You have to invest time and energy and so on. And there has to be encouraged. There's no reward except intrinsic. So if we can get some more funding in the sport of boxing, we can do more. Without that, we are strapped.
Mr. Ramota, Chair through you. As you mentioned, having to spend time and effort with the vulnerable youth. In terms of collaboration with the relevant ministries, are your students or participants, do they receive, outside of the volunteers, I mean, any sort of mentorship or psychosocial or otherwise sort of support, counseling, guidance counselors, that kind of thing? How does that work? There's any collaboration at all there right now?
I don't think at the professional level. Mm-hmm. It happens at the coach level. There would be a boxer who would have a bad day, who would show tantrum. Teacher would identify that to the coach, and the coach would do what he can in his own capacity. Sometimes the school guidance person may not be able to reach to them, but we can. We meaning the coaches, we can. Because we know the jargon, they trust us, they think we are their fathers, surrogate fathers or mothers and so on. So we have that captive opportunity. But like I say, there's only so much we can ask the coaches to do, and they can't do it in their capacity, but they do what they can.
Thank you. On that note, you also mentioned that some coaches are sometimes reluctant to enter high-risk areas. And we value their time and we need to keep them safe. Do you collaborate with the police or other security agencies to facilitate safe access to high-risk areas for coaches?
No. The reason is that that is not something we can force. So we can't force, when I say force, we can't ask a police to escort a coach Monday to the area and not do it the Tuesday, the Wednesday, or the Thursday. And we don't want the coach to be targeted. So the coach also has to feel comfortable of his own to be able to go in there freely and not be targeted as someone from another area coming in. And that's something existing in all the sports, all the communities. We know about that. Areas are zoned off where another person can, we're not all over the country, right? We have certain places we call hotspots and so on, that situation exists. And that is a challenge for us in reaching all over. But like I said, that's not in all the communities. It's only those that are considered hotspots.
Yeah, but those are the areas we're trying to reach. That's where the vulnerable youths are. So how do you suggest that the coaches enter those hotspots to target the vulnerable youth in those areas?
We can probably get the person in that area to leave the community and come to maybe the national stadium and not a specific area where they have an issue with.
So is there potential for a home of boxing, like there's a home of football?
Well, we had the national stadium, but that's now under renovation, so that's the only option I can come up with right now.
Yeah, but what about rural communities? They won't be able to access the national stadium.
Well, they are strapped for resources. They need equipment. The more person you come in to use the equipment, it means wear and tear, their punching bags, their gloves, sparring gloves, and all that. So we can't just get them coming into a gym and not support the gym with equipment.
For all of that, how many certified coaches do you all have?
72.
How many?
We have 72 coaches at different levels. I submitted here the breakdown. We have the highest level is star 3. We have 3 star 3 coaches, 1 star 2 coach, and 22 star 1 coaches. And
that makes up 72?
No. Well, we have level 3 coaches 10, level 2 coaches 15, and level 1 coaches 21.
And I guess those levels you're talking about would be for the younger groups, is that correct?
Yes.
But then, to go back to what you said before, if there is a lack of movement within those so-called hot spots areas, how are they going to move around?
Well, that's a challenge, sir.
Pardon?
That's the challenge.
That's the challenge. Yeah. And the question was asked, well, what would help that mobility if there was better police monitoring or what? What would help that movement within the community from your perspective to help those coaches get inside?
I don't see we using the police or any sort of security to take the coaches to the community as working. As I said, I believe it will be better if the person from the area leave and go to a national forum, and I suggest the national stadium as opposed to another gym, because the gym will also be targeted.
But you know, some people cannot go out of the community from the gangs. Do you know that? Are you aware of that?
Yeah, well, that's the option I have. I can't see we forcing person into the community and maintain their safety afterwards. That's what the coaches tell us.
Okay, thank you. We understand. So I just wanted to thank you for your honest and forthright answers, and also Ms. Guy, and congratulations to you on your achievements as a female boxer and for the glowing example that you've set for not just women and girls, but for athletes in general. Thank you. So we need to move on now to the National Basketball Federation of Trinidad and Tobago. Senator Roberts-Radgman, you wanted to start?
Sure, thank you, Chair. Mr. Wilson, good morning and thank you for being here. So we're talking...
Pleasant good evening.
Oh, we're there already. we are there already. Good afternoon. Wow,
Yeah,
time
afternoon
flies.
to the end, man.
All right, so when you're having fun, we're definitely having fun. So we're looking at the participation at a very grassroots level within vulnerable communities in particular. And you would have indicated, that your organization tries to provide enough opportunities for community participation and competition, particularly in those communities. Can you indicate to me right now the Federation's approach? What approaches have you been taking to ensuring that these participants are not, I guess, prevented from participating based on maybe financial shortcomings?
So, pleasant good evening to everyone once again, head table. So, first to begin, I came in as the president just about 4 months ago, right?
Oh, congrats.
Yeah. So the initiatives is that we go around. We had a whole program going around to communities. So we bring back the basketball because I could say like for South, because I was the chair in South for the past 2-3 years. So what we did is that we went down to each community and get them to form a team. So we go like Monrepo, Bacadie, and South, all the areas that, vulnerable youths. And we did a competition. So for years, I have not anything in South, for probably over 10, 12 years. So we took up the initiative and we went back to the communities first. So what we did is that we go to all the courts that, that was be able to use. Because they have a lot of, anyway, Mr. Ameen will deal with that after. But yeah, so we went to them and let them know that this is what we want to do. This is a competition we want to do. We want to get the youths out. So we went to all the different. So we start off there. Everybody was, happy. It was good. So what we did is that when coming to like the finals, like the big four thing, we try to get the indoor facility. So we could do, because all this initiative is done on us, because we have no funding, as my learned friend said. So, we come together and we say, let's, do something. And so we realized the first year it was, it was good, people was happy. And we keep doing it for the past 3 years. And we could say it was successful. We never get any sponsorship, but what we do is try to get the indoor facility, Now, the thing about it is that having the facilities, getting the use of the facility is a problem. So you have some outdoor courts that need refurbishing and say can't use it. So we use the ones that are available, and then we try to get the indoor. But the indoor facility has about probably 10 to 15 sports playing in that indoor facility. So, and then as you all know, basketball is at a level, so we don't have, but for me, based on being in basketball and the love as my friends here, I have been the maintenance guy for Pleasantville Indoor. So the backboards were broken, I bought those. I did the plumbing, air conditioning. So even now that we're doing a competition, national competition, Maloney, the wheels were down for the rings. I sort of that. I went to Point, do a backboard, do the air conditioning system, because that is the passion. And with that, even in my community, I did a whole basketball court, second to none in the country, So with that kind of, the passion, and, we have a team. So we went around to the community. So we reach out to all the vulnerable, and you're realizing that the kind of crowd type of people the people in the community who doing a little business, they would make a little something, you know, so it really, and I mean, from the first year, it shoot off, and this year was no different. It even got bigger, people congratulating the team, you know.
So this is the second year that this competition is
Third
a
year.
national, third year it's a
Third-
national?
Not national.
This is South?
This was South.
South, okay. Is there not, but there is a
But
national?
now, yeah, so now, so as I say, I now become the president about 4 or 5 months. So this national tournament hasn't even been around for about probably the past 5, 6 years. And coming into, as the president, you know, I let them know that we have to do it because it's so long. And then as the same initiative with the crime and all that, you know, because we have teams from Maloney, you have teams from Lavantil, you have teams from Point 410, you know, so we reach out to the whole holistic, you know.
But you can only stretch yourself. Sorry, I understand, but you can only stretch yourself so thin because you've been all over in South.
Right.
And now you want to make this national. So
Right.
obvious, and you said you have no funding. Those were your words. So really, there, I think there's a government subvention that would be available. But you saying that you, in your submission, you stated that you face significant challenges with the government subvention process, as applications must be submitted at least 3 to 4 months.
4 months.
And it's lengthy and tedious. What assistance would you require in order to access this funding to assist you with your goal of a national league?
Right. So what happened is that based on that 3 and 4 months, and most of the times, like you have things that come up impromptu in that you have to be deal with FIBA, and they would send tournaments and that sort of thing for us, and they wanted to respond. Sometimes they send it 2 months, and they wanted to respond, but we knew funding takes 3 to 4 months, and we will send it, and then you're waiting and you can't give a proper, you know, a proper answer. Then training. Now remember, it's not just going to participate. We want to go out there and win. We want to go out there and bring home medals, like we did in the 3x3 in 2024. But we do have access to training facilities. So here it is, you're trying to get a team ready in 2 months, meaning that they have to get fit. So you're fighting everything, and when they reach the tournament, they literally burn out. And even to get access to the facilities is, I mean, national tournaments, and you're getting problems for the access, you know, to the facilities. So that in itself is a hindrance.
Have you had events or activities that have had to be cancelled because of lack of funding, and what reason is typically provided by the ministry for not releasing or dispersing the funds?
Right, so same thing. So we had a CBC tournament for female and males, and the time in which they sent it was the same thing, like about 2 months in advance, in 2 months before, and that timing was too short, so we reached out to sport and that sort of thing, and it's the same thing. You didn't get the funding. Not only that, sometimes we get sanctioned. So when it is that, like they said, and if we do participate, you get sanctioned. So my thing was that I wrote to them and let them know, hey, it is, we don't have the money because you have to register. We don't have that funding, you know. And, you know, if you all could, you know, tell me what to do because we don't have no funding and we know we'll get sanctioned, but we cannot afford it at this time. And they extend the time for us. And we try, but we never get through with sport. So, and these are the challenges that you're having, you know, and I'm saying that the thing about it too is that, today, now, in 2026, is the first time I have seen that basketball come and get a subvention. Because you can't plan going forward all the time. We couldn't plan. So, and they send us subvention, well, we get 466. But how this operates, right? As he said, it's a voluntary thing, right? This is something that it comes like a full-time job. For me as the president, if you're dealing with the general secretary, this is like a full-time job now. Everything is volunteer. So we don't get no money to operate like the day-to-day runnings. We don't have a secretary. We don't have an office. So everything running Yes, I think I send it out, whatever. So, and then everything is voluntary, you know. And I am saying if we want to be professionals and if we want to get the best, you know, on the international stage, we have to have proper things in place. So here it is, we could give you all these things here in writing and whatever. We have a plan, we have a structure, but if we don't execute the plan and the structure, we still don't have anything. And there's the main thing. We have to be able to execute. So you have training, and once you have training at different levels. That should be whole year. We should have training, you have under 17, you have under 19. You have to have training consistently in order to get the best out of the athletes and no incentives. The thing about it, like you were saying that you will get boxers, the people who make it is the people who really would sacrifice and have that drive. But some people need a push. Some people need, you know, incentives. Some people need, boy, that ain't have no money in it, but I go and hustle. You have players at a level that don't even have a job, that they can't even get, let's say, a temporary, if it's 2 weeks to work in the corporation or something. We need to give something. Now is not like years ago. You know, people would prefer to sit at home and play games. You know, so if we want the youth out there, and I could say, basketball is a sport that we deal with a lot of those vulnerable communities. Plenty of basketball. Some of the best athletes come from those vulnerable communities. And that is something worldwide, that is international.
So do you have a strategic plan as the Federation has a strategic plan?
Yeah, we have a strategic plan.
So is that how you were able to get subvention this year?
Yeah, well, yeah, this year what happened is that, as again, the way that money, the way you got the money is that, so we send in our, like, let's say we send in our budget, right? Obviously, they won't give you what they want. But the money is, you can't do nothing for the federation, you know. The money goes to, like, so if we say we want to take the team to Bahamas, and the budget to go Bahamas is $10. If we spend $9, we have to send back the $1. So you can't really, so it's nothing for the federation. And this is what I'm saying. We do have an operational budget to run the organization. So everybody that doing everything is from your pocket. You know.
Perhaps Senator Nakhid wants to jump in here as the parliamentary secretary.
Yeah.
Were you deemed financially compliant?
Yeah,
by
with
sport?
95% right now.
95%. So
Right
you fall under Sport TT, right?
Yeah, Sport TT and the Olympic Committee, they help send the teams and them outside too.
So you would have sent your program or your due date of travel, and they would have complied. They gave you how much you said now?
466.
How much you got last year?
Nothing.
How much you got the year before?
Nothing.
All right. So there's some progress now, and I would suggest, knowing intimately Christopher Jackson.
Yeah, Mr. Jackson.
Right, Mr. Jackson.
Yeah.
Has had several meetings with me. That it's very important that you all begin a national league, as the chair referred to.
Yeah.
A national league.
Yeah.
That should be.
That is, yeah.
That's I think that is what you have planned.
That is what's going on already.
Right. Okay.
And we have no funding as yet neither.
And where are those games taking place?
Maloney, Pleasantville.
Right.
We do Woodbrook.
Right.
All right. But Woodbrook now, the backboard broke. Not with us, with probably would have rented the sweaters. And that is the next thing. When those facilities down, that is what it is. They don't fix. I mean, as I tell you, I literally dealt with Pleasantville because Maloney was down too. And I went and organized the wheels and to get it up.
So who is responsible for maintaining the courts? Whose responsibility is it?
I guess you would tell me. Ministry, I think. I don't even know. You know.
Maybe that's the issue.
I don't even know. Because, and as I said, we have a basketball court in Chagonas too that's down for probably about 5 years. Right? They have a facility in Chagonas. About 5 years are down now.
But just for edification, Chair, if it's they fall under Sport TT, then it's not the ministry who is responsible for these facilities. they would have to refer to Sport TT. They have facilities managers and so from Sport TT, just for education of the public. So you would have had to submit to Sport TT that this facility is down, and they would deal with it. They have facilities managers out of Sport TT. Did you do that?
So let me tell you, the managers and they would have reached out to whoever they're supposed to reach out to. But again, the time. How long they would take to fix it?
But have you reached out to them? They have documentary evidence. You reach out to Sport TT?
No, I reached out to the managers of the facility.
Right.
And they reach out, and the manager was saying he want to wait until it, do it and whatever, but it's months and months and months. And I mean, there's something that going on for years, you know. I deal with Pleasantville Indoor because I try to keep basketball running.
Right.
And I am saying if it reaches said now anything, as presently as we talk here this morning, my air condition guy went to service the AC because they are not doing anything. So I'm just saying, and you deal with the managers and that sort of thing. And we had no place to run the tournament. We get Pleasantville. We was using Woodbrook backboard break. Maloney had the problem, so I make sure I get the ring up and running for the tournament to run. You know, and that is how it goes. So it is a whole, you know, I even suggesting, and I would even like so I get scholarships. The MFT, we get scholarships, so some girls in Canada, 4 girls went to Canada. We have a team coming down from Canada to do a camp between the ages of 8 to 13. So they would like ask if we could like probably do the food, probably do the transportation, what we paying out. And we can't assist because we don't have no funding. And as I say, the funding whatever funding we get is specifically to do X. We can't do Y. You know, so I'm saying, you know, it is really tough. You know. So basketball, as I was saying, if we have incentives, look, this government was the government that did the Hoop for Life. That was a really good initiative. They have the money that they have money. So the teams that win, the communities that won, they pay the players and all that, but they have money in an escrow account where they're supposed to fix up like whatever facility in their community and that thing. And that money's still there. And I could tell you that because I had meetings with the Laramine, who won, the Laramine team that won. We had meetings with them. So the money is in our escrow account, so that's something we could look at too.
Thank you. I'd like to hear a bit from Ms. George as the Vice President of Marketing.
Yeah.
So in terms of marketing the association and reaching out for sponsorship, is there anything happening on that front?
Yeah, well, definitely. All right. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Definitely. We are actually looking at sponsors that could partner with us because the bigness of basketball, I don't think we realize how big basketball is right now for the youths. As the chairman said, right now we have a lot of scholarship opportunities. And one of the challenges we face is you're taking these children from grassroots community, you're sending them to Canada. How are they getting there? They are not elite athletes as yet. They are midway between, they're good, but they're not good enough for NBA, right? So they're in the middle there where they're trying to find their way and decide if basketball is actually a career for them. But they also have the opportunity to improve on their academics. How do we get these children from point A to point B? How are we we can't continue to throw a barbecue and have a bazaar and that sort of thing. So we are actually looking at who we can go to as corporate sponsors to partner with us in basketball. So in the past, we would have had persons like Republic Bank, Digicel, but they would just fund like an activity. You know, we have a tournament, they sponsor some part of the tournament. But, you know, we need real sponsors who are going to, like how Whitco Desperados was sponsored for years and Despas never had to worry about what they're doing because Whitco was a lifetime sponsor. So this is the direction that we need to take basketball and perhaps all of the other sports, where we could get lifetime sponsors to help us move the sport from, point A to point B.
Thank you for that. Before we wrap up, I just wanted to get some input from Mr. Singh as a basketballer and your personal experience with, dealing with the challenges that Mr. Wilson articulated.
Good day to all. So, yeah, I would be speaking more from the player perspective. I was talented enough to receive a scholarship to play in the States. So I only recently came back in 2023. And from what I heard and from what I was seeing while I was in the States, basketball was at a place where we didn't really have much competition. But as I came back, and with the help of Mr. Wilson, he basically started a lot of competitions for us to play and for us to bring out athletes. And me, well, I grew up in one of the rural areas. I wouldn't say rural because it's home, but Monipo is where I'm from, San Fernando. And the opportunities are not plentiful in the sport, but I worked hard through it, played through it, and I was successful enough to get an actual opportunity to further my skills. But the opportunities weren't there. Like, I used to have to travel to Port of Spain to even attempt to get my name into the field to be recognized. And all of that was through the help of people taking it out of their pocket as well. But all these areas, all our athletes in the basketball community are pretty much from rural areas. Maloney, most of my national athletes, teammates that get to compete, we're all from there.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So it sounds as though we're getting the message that the National League needs to be going with private and government sponsorship probably, and certainly we will take that into consideration. Thank you very much, and congratulations to you for receiving a scholarship. I suppose that was to play as well as go to school?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, it was.
yes.
I played in Division II college in Michigan, yeah.
Okay, well done. All right, well, we only have a few minutes left, so we need to move on to the next governing body, which will be the aquatics. Like I said, last but not least, Mr. Pouchet. Did I get that correct?
That's correct. Good afternoon
Okay.
again.
Who wanted to start? Minister Dowlath?
Thank you very much, Chair. Mr. Pouchet, thank you for your patience. What I noted from your submissions is that most of these activities with the aquatics take place during the vacation time. So, and that seems to be inconsistent in terms of being able to sustain the programs during the whole year. How feasible is it to implement these long-term programs, like for the academic year or going?
Thanks for the question. The feasibility will depend on the approach taken. I made reference to the Center of Excellence pool, which runs active programs with a lot of the schools in the area there. And I think that is one of the main approaches that has to be adopted if you want to make it sustainable. It has to be something partnered with the Ministry of Education at the school level, where it is built into the, I wouldn't say the curriculum, but into the school offerings for the year. And that would augur well to have a continuity in the program throughout the school year. Additionally, utilizing the plethora of community pools available and the aquatic centers and the various private pools available. Typically from pool operation, I could tell you that the downtime for pools during the 10 to 2 period is quite high. So there is opportunity again for involvement from that perspective, and I'm sure that there could be negotiation with respect to utilizing the pool in that period at a reduced cost. So there is continuity there as well. At the community level, the programs are run primarily by the Ministry of Sport and the Ministry of Defense, all right, at the high risk, if you want to say high risk community areas. And we have reached out to the Ministry of Sport primarily to see how best we could partner with them. I think that we have a lot of clubs that are based around the areas that may be high risk, considered high risk, and there could be an exchange of services, resources, collaborations, so that we could integrate some of the athletes that we would identify as having a pathway forward into some of the club programs, etc.
Minister Roberts-Radgman, sorry, Senator. Senator Roberts-Radgman.
No problem,
I do
Chair.
beg your pardon.
No problem at all. Thank you, Mr. Pouchet. So in responding to Minister Dowlath, you mentioned there's downtime between, I guess, 10 to 2, so during the school day, that maybe we could make use of. Is the proposal then, I guess, all right, let me ask you then, what would be the logistics or the kind of support that you would need, I guess, being able to take the students, the swimmers from school to the pools? How would that look like?
Okay, so just as to go back a bit, even when we have school competitions and they are on the weekend per se, most times, we do get some resistance from some schools stating that it's outside of the period, outside of the school time, and they cannot commit any teacher to attend and so on. So we get that first kind of barrier. But what I'm speaking about is more in a pool operation on a typical day. We have the early morning where the elite athletes or the competitive swimmers will enter. All right. You have the other users, maybe some aqua aerobics or persons doing therapy mid-morning. So, and then unless there are schools attached to do physical education classes and so on, the pools remain quite dormant until afternoon period again. So I'm just saying that that window there is an opportunity that could be exploited at pools that operate currently, and definitely so at the community pools. I guess getting to your point, transportation may be the biggest concern of how we safely get the kids to the school, from school to the pool and back.
Chair, I must declare my interest because my son is a swimmer, and he swam in secondary schools swimming competitions for many years. And one of the things I'm concerned about when you share about wanting to reach more youth in terms of the sport, there's a cost attached to swimming. Many people feel they put on a tights and they jump in a pool. But even the swimming gear for athletes might start at $2,500 for a tech suit. And then even when they're training, they have other equipment that the club might provide, but some of these things the athlete themselves needs to own it. That would make them more competitive. How do we provide support when we talk about reaching at-risk youth? When we talk about reaching young people whose parents may not be able to afford even the suit, but some of the other gears associated with swimming and training to become an athlete so that you can get a scholarship or, excel rather than just playing in the water and passing time.
Well, that is quite true that there is, at the highest level, there's a lot of costs associated with the sport. But a lot of the principle at the basic level, the foundational level, it is not beyond what has been intimated from my colleagues here. The factors outside of the sport itself are already the most, I would say in aquatics we look at the triangle of the parent, the athlete, and the coach. And what usually happens is I think that there's a lot of misinformation and miseducation with respect to nutrition, the whole concept of recovery, and other aspects that contribute to you being a better athlete. All right, and At the introductory level, there's not much hindrance in terms of cost, in terms of accessing programs. I think there are programs available. What we have to do, and we are through the Learn to Swim Commission at the ASAD level, we are trying to devise a national program so there'll be standardization across the board. Because as it exists right now, there are many programs that are operated by persons who not necessarily doing what may be prescribed. All right, so that we have people learning to swim at many different facilities, and we would like to have a national program where it is adhered to, and there's a certification based on their objectives achieved, etc. And I think that will lay the foundation. The pathway that I spoke about in the submission as well too is that out of these programs that we have at private and community levels, this is where I think that the partnership with the clubs, which will have the expert personnel attached, that they could come there, see talent identification, true talent identification, pull persons that may be able to come into the club system. And of course, the cost factor there is where we talk about a built-in program. Maybe you could do a proposal with respect to a scholarship system where it's offered. Right now, there are a couple clubs that do it already, that they don't charge a couple athletes who come from the at-risk or who are not able to meet the expenses. But in a more systematic way is where we get the benefit, where through the community program, we identify this and we then elevate these persons to the clubs in the community that they could then go on and have the expenses covered to ensure that they could go on without hindrance to the higher levels.
All right. Now, your association, the Aquatic Sport Association, does not only cover swimming. No. Is that correct?
Yes, it's also.
What other sport could we consider? Because the purpose of this committee is to consider sports that would divert young people away from delinquency and criminal activity.
Yeah.
What other aquatic sports you feel could have that effect?
Well, yes, swimming isn't that, I would use the word sexy. So our best offering is water polo, because it's a team sport. It gets that camaraderie together, and I must commend our water polo community for using the mini polo version of it. So you don't really even have to swim, and you can play the sport in aquatics. So it's just it utilizes a smaller field where the kids could stand. Their ball handling skills are developed. What we're working on right now is a transition. How do we keep these kids after they do this and not get frustrated when they come and realize, well, I reach a point I can't swim, so maybe I can't do the next level. So we have to think about, all right, mini polo is like a small goal sweater in football, all right? And then how do you get them to even understand their spacing and awareness on a big field and different things like that? So it's similar aspects that we have to look at. How do we transition these athletes from enjoying it and doing it at the grassroots level and moving on and continuing it, because we don't want it to just be a one-off intervention. All right, we have to develop it in a way that we get forward. Additionally, we have, these are emerging sports, I would say, and we did our first time clinic of diving last year, and we had 100 kids participate. Unfortunately, most of them are already in the community. And when I say the aquatic fraternity, all right, we did have a couple from outside, but it didn't really get the reach that we would have wanted. But the hope is to, through these sports and artistic swimming, which is, yes, you have to swim, but it's more expression on a creative level. And, it has its different aspects to the traditional swimming route.
Since you're looking for outreach, how many coaches that you have qualified within your organization? All
right, in aquatics, we have, as I said, swimming and water polo primarily. In the artistic swimming, we have 2 coaches that are qualified, although we don't have a up and running fully fledged program. We have a couple of officials who are seeking their qualification. They have to attend some games, and we have it in our budget this year for them to attend 2 competitions so that they'll be certified officials to have competitions here. On the diving, we don't have any qualified coaches. We did our introductory clinic last year. All right, so we just have introductory level. We are looking into an opportunity where we could certify 1 coach in the UK this year. All right, and that person will come down and start a developmental program in Trinidad and Tobago. In the water polo side, we have 2 senior coaches, I would say, on the national level. And after that, we have, I don't have an exact number, but there are 2 clubs mainly in the water polo fraternity. There are 2 other clubs that are now up and coming, And amongst them, we probably have about 8 coaches that are on the lower end of the spectrum in terms of qualification. In the swimming, we have the most amount. All right, and that we have about 20 clubs, and each club has a minimum of 1 qualified through American Swimming Coaches Association, level 4 or above. And then you would have more national teams. You would have, well, they'll comprise from the club coaching system. And how we do our national teams is not like for football, we appoint a national head coach on our annual basis. We then, based on the team, and there's a criteria with respect to composition of the team and contribution to national team training, etc. There's a criteria by which we select the national coaches based on the competition itself, not necessarily a national coach for the full year or term.
Chair?
I just wanted to ask one question. During their appearance in December, the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs, the representative advised that there were 10 community swimming pools across Trinidad and Tobago, but there were only 4 of these pools currently functional. So how is the number of dysfunctional swimming pools impacting the delivery of swimming programs, especially considering that we are trying to target at-risk vulnerable youth in these high-risk communities?
Yeah, well, I think it's definitely adversely affecting it, and I made reference to it in the submission. We have a disconnect where the maintenance of the facility, and we have a different problem as compared to other sports. We have plenty of facilities, in my opinion. We have more than enough facilities. We have probably the best aquatic facility in the Western Hemisphere, barring North America, right? And the problem is not necessarily the facility, but the maintenance and the access to it, all right? And it has to be eased, and that it makes no sense we have a world-class facility and the uptake is 100 persons for the day or 50 persons for the day, all right? It has to be used for us to really get the benefit of it. Similarly, in these communities, if the pool is down, it does not meet the criteria, it doesn't really assist in what we're trying to achieve. And again, one of the conversations we had with the Ministry of Sport is that after you cut off at a certain time, what are the possibilities of other entities utilizing the pool? And they usually, the problem really is that there is a problem with respect to financing, in that they don't want to take on additional load because there's not an arrangement. There are a couple of pools where there's an arrangement where clubs or individuals could pay to use the facility, all right, which we understand as the aquatics that it takes, there's a certain amount of, once you have beta load, you're going to have more cost. It's a kind of relatable cost. It's a variable cost that goes along with the amount of people that use the pool. All right, so in knowing that, we know that, and I think people are willing to make a financial contribution, and again, a partnership, whereas the services from the technical side or the expert side could be lent to the programs that are done at those community centers as in return for some space, which is an issue in terms of some regions, some areas, in terms of there may be few private pools in a certain area, and for example, Center of Excellence, and Ms. Ameen could tell you, there are probably 4 or 5 clubs that battle for the same training time over a 4-hour period, and it's not ideal. All right, so again, if you have a pool in Maloney, and a pool high up in Nakhid, where it is, you're going to get access. There's pools that will be available to clubs to use and to do their programs, and we get more opportunities for persons to access the facilities. It just comes down to the maintenance of the pool, and we have to use the best practices. And I want to take this plug to talk about the marketing side of it. My colleague from basketball spoke about the volunteerism, and I'm telling you that it is a full-time job, what we do here. And when I deal with a 10-member executive, and thankfully I have 10 members. I know some people don't have that many, and it's still overburdened, and the demands from the membership is insane. They really think that we have a full-time job, and we want to serve the community, but it's very difficult on having to mind your family and see about things without having any financial remuneration in terms of that. And secondly, in terms of the marketing side of it, we have best practices among sports, and I think that if we look at the ones who do it well, we have to, from a national perspective, and I lend to sport company to take the lead on this. It's not all the time that we would want only finances, but if you all are full-time persons in this thing, you all could give us the support in other ways, all right? Not necessarily finances, but if you all have a communications department or a marketing something, help us. You recognize where there's help needed, all right? And don't just leave it at, okay, well, football have this and cricket have this, and the rest, we just trying to piece it together, and I'm no marketing specialist, and social media is very important. And if you want to reach youths, that is the way to do it.
Yeah. Chair, I was really going to ask about facilities, and you comprehensively covered what could be done. And I always use the example of La Hoqueta Community Swimming Pool, where young people who, from the time they come home, even before their parents reach home from school, they know they could go in the pool. And the coach there would find something for them to do. And out of that, you had young people who excelled in secondary school training because they had a space. When that pool, because of lack of maintenance, closed down, that community common space, that safe space for young people also disappeared. So they probably still linemen, but on the road and unsupervised. And the value of having these community pools and maintaining them is so critical, because you could build more swimming pools, but if the pools you are building are not properly maintained, then you are losing our young people in those same at-risk communities. And so even now in the current media space, you have people talking about pools through lack of maintenance. I mean, this thing didn't happen overnight. In terms of private partnership to aid in supporting these pools, in supporting the maintenance or supporting programs, is that something that you see as feasible, where your association can facilitate private organizations, as sometimes happens in other sports, where they come in and they help fund, not necessarily a club, but it might be a facility or a club or a particular program that you might see as feasible?
Yeah, I quite think that will work. And in addition to that, I think that we need to look at the best. I always look at best practice. All right, there are pools that operate all year with minimal disruption. All right, what are they doing to maintain those pools? And they typically have a lot of usage. All right, and we may have to look at utilizing the resources that they have or a system that they have in place. All right, to ensure that your system doesn't go down. One thing I could tell you that all the other pools in the country, there haven't been many newly constructed pools. All right, so the community pools are some of the newer constructed pools in the country. All right, and that's a fact. And the fact that it is down as much as now, compared to the other pools, it lends to some level of competency that needs to be addressed. Because if pools are operating for such a long period with age equipment and maintenance schedules and whatever, and still find a way to operate, I mean, it's pools and chemicals, and we have different things with the weather and so on. So there will be times it's not always 100%, but with minimal disruption, I would say is what the term I would use. I think we need to look at those expertise as well, and on top of the private, to say bring on board them from a financial or perspective. We look at the services that could be rendered that would assist in ensuring that the pools operate optimally.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, in the interest of time, I think we should wrap up, but there's just one last question, and I'd like you, if you could submit it in writing to the committee. In your submission, you indicated that participation in state-supported youth sporting programs varies significantly across regions, with generally greater uptake during the vacation period. So if you could please submit to the committee the disaggregated data on participation trends, gender, location, age, and frequency of participation, we would appreciate it. Okay, and we also would like to know about safeguarding to protect minors, right? Because from all the governing bodies, actually, it's very important, because we're talking about all age groups. So we feel that the safeguarding practices really significant.
Definitely. I'll speak to the safeguarding first. I'll be brief. We have looked at the TTFA and we have been liaising with TTOC with respect to developing our safeguarding policy. We did present it to our members in our January Congress meeting, and it's now in draft policy format for their review before we formalize the policy. Our executive team on a whole has been trained in safeguarding. We are working towards ensuring that the coaches and the technical officials, everybody who will be coming into contact with the athletes, will be trained in safeguarding and to raise the level of education across the board at the club level. All right. With respect to the other question you asked me, we would have worked closely with the Ministry of Sport on that particular program, and I will liaise with them to get the numbers because they would have been the key operators of that program. We have lent our technical support. All right. We like basketball. On other sports, we don't get money for developmental. We get money for trips and teams and those kind of things. So our money is spent on that, and we don't really get anything to do anything otherwise. All right. What we have tried to do is to raise the bar in terms of our local events so that we could get some funds generated to do things that we want to do at the developmental and operational level.
All right, thank you very much. So it's now 1 o'clock, which is really good time. So we want to come to bring the meeting to a close. So I would just alert all the representatives that we may be writing to you with follow-up questions, and you can submit the answers to us in writing. Okay, so before we close, I would just like to invite very brief closing comments from the officials present, starting and continuing in the order of presentation with the Football Association, followed by the Cricket Board, the Boxing Association, the Basketball Federation, and then the Aquatics Association. Thank you. No more than 1 minute each, please.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. I just want to say that, football is a dynamic sport, and the sport has been growing globally. And with that growth comes many opportunities that could address the social ills of society. In Trinidad and Tobago here, we must keep pace with the growth and the current trend of global football. We believe that we know and understand what we need to do to be level with most of the top countries in the world. However, we want to ensure that we have the right set of resources and the right set of people to deliver, even down to the lowest order and the smallest person on the street. We would have seen quite a number of examples. Senator Nakhid here, who a former national player and captain of our senior men's team, he would have excelled and played football professionally on the international stage. And we believe that there are so many more examples, and we have so many more persons that could reach that level, not only as a player, but also as an administrator, as coaches, and so on. So hence, we are very, very meticulous and particular in how we deliver our programs, from coaching programs, from administrative programs, from refereeing programs, safeguarding, and so on and so on. So we would just, whatever support that we could, embrace, we are certainly happy for that. And thanks again for the opportunity to present at this Joint Select Committee meeting.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And there were a few commonalities that I just want to point out. And the Cricket Board will always welcome, we want to have year-round development of our cricketers, and we need more support in that aspect. In addition, there will be some machinery and so on that we presently have, but to be able to replace it, that will be quite a challenge. So we need assistance with that, but more so with our development programs. I had 1 or 2 recommendations, if you allow me to just suggest that we have more training for coaches. Our coaches are prepared with cricketing skills. However, if there can be more courses, now we have first aid, we have child protection, but more life skills and certification for our coaches so that they could be better prepared to deal with those coming from the vulnerable group. I want to suggest institution for sports, making dual careers with both sports and academics, so that, for example, an institution with state-of-art use of science and technology in the advancement and development of talented and exceptionally talented youths. So we want to bridge that gap with the international teams to reduce that, to be able to be better, more competitive, to be able to have our teams better prepared against them. And another thing is that we can locally recognize April 6th, which marks the date for International Day of Sport for Peace. It is an annual celebration of the power of sport to drive social change, community development, and to foster peace and understanding, designated by the United Nations to highlight sport's power for positive social change, human rights, health, inclusion, economic progress, and it promotes sports' role in building understanding, fair play, and bridging divides. So that event, it goes along with themes like social inclusion for marginal groups and advancing the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, there would have been an initiative as well with cricket, with the integration of the sport with academics. So, and that will motivate students. For example, we had a kiddie cricket program with Scotiabank, and it served for parental support as well, so that they see that integration, they will be more motivated to want to get into the sports, right, Doc?
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much for having us here.
We would welcome if you could crystallize your thoughts on paper and submit it to us. That would be very helpful to the committee. Thank you for that.
We will do.
Okay, Mr. Ramuta, boxing.
Boxing Association would like to appreciate our thanks for having us here, giving us a hearing. And I want to make the point that of all the grassroots sports, all the vulnerable at-risk youth in this country, boxing has the greatest potential in touching them, reaching out to them, getting their attention. What we need is some more resources, need funding. I hope that this committee, the hearing, it bears fruit for boxing, that we can go forward and understand how important boxing is in reaching vulnerable youths, that we father and mother the children that come under our care, but we need some help. We can't do it by ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, basketball.
Yeah, I want to thank you all for inviting us, for you all taking the time to really try to help sport. I mean, I know that basketball reach to the vulnerable areas, and I'm really thankful that if we could keep this, that we could reach out to you all, so that we could have that work relationship that you all could probably, make things a little easier for us, to help. So I want to thank you all for having us and looking out for sport.
Welcome. And Mr. Pouchet, aquatics.
Yes, thank you once again for having me. On behalf of the executive, I know that we're happy for any opportunity to speak about generally how we could advance sport in the country. As far as we see it, and as far as I continue to advocate for, is I want to stop the siloed approach to things and to look at how best we could pool resources, especially now in the times that we know we have some economic difficulty, how best we could pool resources for the greater benefit of sport generally in the country. I want to publicly applaud the board of the sport company for setting up a meeting with the NGOs to meet in the coming future to speak, and I hope there's an opportunity that would bear some fruit in terms of how we would move forward, and understanding what is expected from us and what we expect from the sport company as well. Thank you once again.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So I'd just like to say thank you to all the officials of the sporting organizations for your attendance and contributions today, and also the persons in the public gallery for viewing and for your attention. Thanks also to the committee members for your support and participation, and to the staff of the Office of the Parliament for your procedural and logistical support, and finally to the viewing and listening audience. To end, I just want to wish everyone a safe, enjoyable carnival period, and this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.